So guys, I had my first experience going to a city without a Tesla charger. From someone that charges every single day in their garage when they get home from work or whatever, the idea of traveling to a town for a long period of time where the only form of charging I had was just a normal 110 outlet, I had range anxiety before I even went. And I considered all types of different things. I thought about staying in a hotel about 30 miles away just to have a destination charger, just to have that ability to charge overnight. I'm so glad I didn't, because driving an extra 60 miles a day would have been a pain. I even considered buying a $400 adapter from Tesla that would allow me to charge a little bit closer to my destination. I'm so glad I didn't waste the $400 on that, because I really just did a few simple things and it really just helped me out. It completely got rid of my range anxiety once I got into the swing of things. So basically there's a few things to keep in mind when you're traveling to a town without an electric charger, whether it's a Tesla charger or just a normal level 2 charger. So what you want to do first is kind of ignore your Tesla. When you navigate to a destination, it will tell you where to charge and for how long, which is great for getting you to your destination. But when you get to your destination, if you don't have much charging abilities, you want to get there at the highest charging capacity possible. So if it tells you to go to a certain charger and only charge for a few minutes, check your map. See if there's another charger closer to your location and charge there. If it means adding a few more minutes to your trip, it's fine, because the ultimate goal is to get to your destination with the highest percentage of battery possible. Now, the reason why you want to do this is simple, because if you're like me, when you got to your destination, the only form of charging I had typically was a 110 outlet. And the 110 outlet gets you about 5 miles of range per hour, which means in a typical like overnight scenario, you'll get about 50 miles of range overnight. Now that's a little crazy when you consider my 220 outlet in the garage gives me about 30 miles of range per hour. So you can see why I kind of had range anxiety already. But I'm really glad I didn't do any of the crazy things like stay at a hotel or buy tons of crazy adapters. But what I did do, just to be prepared, I did buy an extension cord and I did buy a few of the mobile adapters from Tesla, because I did think I would have access to a few different types of plugs that would give me some higher rates of speed. Now the first mistake I made though was buying the extension cord. I bought too long of a cord. I think it was like a 50 or 100 foot cord. And even though I bought a really good quality one, but just because the length of the cord was so long, going from the wall all the way through this cord into the Tesla, eventually it gave me a message on the car where it said charging rate is reduced. So it went from 5 miles of range per hour to 2 miles of range per hour. So that means about like 20 miles of range overnight, which isn't going to cut it. But luckily, once I switched to a shorter cord, like a 25-foot cord, it worked really well. So this is kind of just to give you an idea. So I just drove around town a little bit today. I'm at 75%, so down 15% from 90 where I charged to. And it's literally going to take like overnight charging to get me to 90%. So you have to be kind of conservative with your power if you're trying to stay fully juiced up at all times. I don't regret buying the 100-foot cord, because in a pinch, it would be great if I was just stuck and I had to charge. But I'm definitely going to have like a 100-foot cord and a 25-foot cord in my car at all times for emergencies. Now, the other thing that saved me was I bought a NEMA 10 to 30 adapter, which was basically, it allowed me to plug into an older style dryer outlet. So in one of my destinations, I knew they had a dryer in their garage, and that was a perfect spot for me to charge, because all I had to do was pull up to the garage door and it reached, no problem. And I do realize that that's probably an issue with a lot of destinations you're going to. Most of your friends, family, whatever, they're not willing to have you have a cord go through your house and everything like that. And most people just don't have a 220 outlet that close to where you could park. But I have to say, like, the 220 charging was my saving grace. It charges at a rate so much faster than the 110 outlet, basically like 50 miles of range overnight compared to 50 miles of range in like 2 hours. So that really helps me get some extra juice. And I only had to do that once, and that got me caught up enough to where I could just top up every night with the 110 outlet, which is the NEMA 5 to 15 that comes with your Tesla. Now, I did have another option. If I was really in a pinch, there was a supercharger about 30 miles away, but that would mean I'd have to drive 60 miles total just to top up. So I wanted to avoid that, and luckily I did by just plugging in every single night with the 110. And the only other thing to keep in mind, guys, with all of this is that when you are charging, turn off Sentry Mode and turn off cabin overheat protection, because if you're charging on a 110 outlet, you want to keep all your extra stuff to a minimum, because that will just suck up extra juice that could be going to your battery. And last but not least is during the last few days of your trip, you just have to be super cognizant of when you're leaving, how much charge you need, and where your first supercharger is going to be at. So for me, when I was leaving, I knew I needed about 100 miles of range to get to my first supercharger to then head home. So basically a few days before, I was just making sure I had enough juice to do that. If I was very careless and ended my last night in town with, 20 miles of range, and even if I charged all night, I still wouldn't be good, and I'd have to delay my departure time until I had enough charge to leave. So that's just one thing you have to be more careful of. You just have to make sure you have enough power to leave your destination to start getting home. So this is what we're looking at right now. I left the house with 87%. So despite charging all night before traveling, I never made it to my goal of 90%. I typically would even charge a little bit farther for a trip, but not really a big deal, honestly. So I'm gonna arrive in Fayetteville at 15%, and it wants me to charge for 25 minutes. So guys, I made it. I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, so I made it to the superchargers. So I'm officially off the normal charging, back on superchargers. I can get home perfectly fine now, no problem at all. My concerns about surviving in a town without superchargers or even just normal EV chargers is completely gone. As long as you have a normal charger, just a normal outlet, and you're just driving around town, you can get at least 50 miles of charge overnight per day. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure you have enough charge when you get into town, and make sure you have enough charge when you leave. That's it, you're good. With gas, of course, you could just, fill up anywhere. Having an electric vehicle, no doubt, you just have to be very thoughtful and plan trips more than normal. But it is very rewarding, because my whole trip of driving about 1,600 miles, I paid $0 because I had free supercharging. And where I stayed at, of course, nobody thought to charge me for plugging into a 110 outlet. Just the same way you charge your phone. I no longer have range anxiety, and I actually look forward to going on trips more in the future now, because I know I can just bring my mobile connector kit with me, plug into a normal 110 outlet, and get enough charge overnight to be good. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.